All right, good morning. How we doing? It's Monday, it's 8 a.m. How's the drive in? Who lives out of town? Okay. Well, thanks for making it and being here. We're getting a little better. We got more people than last week. Still a couple people out. What did you guys, if you need to, you can pull up your assignment that was due Friday. What did you guys learn from that? What did you find out? Remember, this was the ag marketing. What did you guys find?
We spend a lot of money.
Who does?
Well, I did it over Budweiser.
Okay,
They
cool.
spent like billions of dollars.
Yeah. And you know what they're not doing this year?
Yeah, they're not participating in the Super Bowl.
They're not doing the Super Bowl for the first time, like, ever. So, which is crazy. Do you know why?
I think it's because of like the kneeling or something.
Well, someone could remind me your name? Travis. All right, thank you. So the protesting stuff, you think?
I don't remember exactly.
Okay. I think cost was a huge factor. I think they were looking at spending $5.6 million per commercial, or something like that. And they decided to put that money elsewhere. Cool. What else? Now we're not gonna have any funny commercials. No more Clydesdales. What else? What'd you guys learn from your ad campaigns?
I did mine off of the cranberry commercial with the guy that's in the bogs.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Ocean Spray, is that who does it? Yeah. What'd you find out?
When you have an idea like that, you can like launch a lot of marketing ideas off of it.
Yeah.
Because that's what they did for like 10 years.
Right. Yeah. It's funny because not a lot of people know how cranberries are grown and harvested, and they're standing out there in the water. How many states are cranberries grown in? Do you know?
No. I'm allergic to cranberries, so.
Why'd you pick it then?
Because I like the commercial.
Okay, that's funny. All right. Does it make you want to drink it even though you're allergic?
I only drank it once, sadly. That's how I found out I was allergic.
That's that's not good. Way to go. Okay, cool. All right. So they had something that people liked and they ran with it, right?
Yeah, I used to love the commercials as a kid. I thought they were funny.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Do they still do them, right?
I think like the latest one was like 2018.
Okay. All right. Cool. Ocean Spray. All right. Okay. What else? What else we got? What else do you guys pick?
Always successful.
Who?
They aren't always successful.
Yeah.
Like the California raisins.
Oh yeah, from the '80s, right? Yeah. How'd you know about those, or did you just kind of?
I just Googled something.
Okay.
And it popped up. And I was like, hey, I'll run with that.
Does anybody else know what the California raisins were?
It was kind of creepy.
They're hilarious. So it was claymation basically, and they had these raisins, and they were like a jazz band or blues band or whatever, and they were hilarious, and it was super popular, right? And they were toys and everything out of California raisins. Yeah. What else did you find out? What did you learn?
They had like a lot of merchandise made actually with it.
Yeah.
And they only really did commercials, and they actually got on some TV show or had a TV show or something like that.
Yeah, I think they made like one.
There was like
Brooklyn.
one or two. It wasn't a lot. But
They were in. I think they were in. I can't remember if it was Happy Meals or Burger King, or whatever. But they were like the toy for a while. I still have one. It's a collector. It's awesome. Yeah, cool. I pull it up. Maybe we'll do it next time. But you can YouTube California raisins. You watch these really weird commercials. All right. What else? What else did we pick? What'd you pick, Brittany?
I can't remember the brand name, but I did basically tobacco, but I chose cigarettes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. What'd you learn?
But that was cool because the brand that I chose was the first like brand to make like women be like okay to smoke. So they used a lot of women, and then they like just used whatever was relevant to that time. Because I looked at all of them. They
Yeah.
used like everything, and one of them they talked about like trying to get people to go to farm court to like help the farmers back then.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Really cool.
And what'd you learn about advertising with cigarettes?
It's cool. It's still cool. Like,
Right.
You know how like today, like it's like, but like everyone's like, no, you need to stop. It was like, it's cool to smoke cigarettes. This is the #1 brand for all the time smokers. I was like, okay.
What did you notice that you cannot show people smoking?
Yeah.
Yeah, in the ads you cannot show someone physically smoking. Same thing with beer commercials. No one can take a sip of the beer. Anybody know that? You watch a beer commercial, you will never see them take a drink. Cool. All right. What else?
They don't never take a drink out of a beer?
You can't. Legally, you cannot show them sipping the actual beer. Watch. They're always cheersing. They're getting close. They never take a sip of their beer. I can't remember when they put that in, but I think that's only like the last 20 or 30 years. advertising, couldn't do it. What else? What'd you guys pick? Who'd you pick?
John Deere delay.
Hold on, what'd you say?
John Deere.
John Deere, what'd you find out?
The highest agricultural machinery
Uh-huh.
selling company.
Yep.
2019. I'm not sure about 2020.
Did you find out like how much they spend on advertising?
Like 100 billion, something like that.
It's a
I know
ton.
they have a really active YouTube channel that they always post stuff on.
Yeah,
My boyfriend wants to go work for John Deere actually.
okay.
They post probably 4 or 5 videos a day.
Wow. Didn't know that. Cool. What else? What else did you learn? Anything surprise you about it?
They spend a hell of a lot of money. That's about it.
Where do they spend it?
Mainly on like TV commercials.
Yeah.
But also social media ads and all that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's depending on the channel, right? Like, if you're, I don't know, does anybody watch MTV anymore? But like, probably not gonna see John Deere commercials on MTV. But like RFD, they'll be all over it, right? So they're pretty targeted. Okay. What you said? Russian Chick-fil-A? What'd you find out?
I just think I picked it because as a kid I always thought it was crazy about how they have like cows as like their advertisement.
And what kind of cows?
Milk cows.
They're freaking Holsteins, right? They're dairy cows. That's how. Remember we talked about last week how many people think chocolate milk comes from brown cows? That's what we're dealing with right now. Okay, keep going. What else?
I just thought it was funny like how why they chose that as like their biggest like campaign slogan, eat more chicken.
Yeah. What did you find out like why, where that came from or anything?
There was like a big push in trying to find it.
Yeah, you guys pull up your assignments if it helps you remember. Some of you are like, I don't remember what I wrote. Right?
It was just like sometime in the, I want to say like mid-90s or something. They just said it was clever because the campaign insinuates that cows would rather us eat more chicken than them.
Right.
But
Right.
it's just weird that it's a milk cow not eating milk.
Well, because that's what people know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would suspect, and I think, I can't tell you exactly, I won't quote why, but I would imagine Chick-fil-A was trying to cut into the burger market. Everyone's fast food was hamburgers, right? It was easy, there's a bunch of them, they're easy to eat. This is exactly why Taco Bell has shifted over the years. They had a slogan for a while, I don't think they do, but it was good to go, because people couldn't eat Taco Bell in their cars. Like it wasn't as convenient, so they were losing like the drive-through business if you're gonna eat in your car compared to a burger and fries. So they started making stuff that was literally easier to hold, which was a big shift. And like the fake names for their tacos, right? They just made stuff up. Somebody was telling me something. Oh yeah, they can't. Probably shouldn't have video. They used to call them Mexi fries, and they don't do that anymore because they thought it was a bad connotation with the name. So anyway, I don't know if that's true or not. What else? What else did we learn? Caroline, what'd you do yours on?
Okay, so I did mine on the Dodge Ram commercial where it's the farming one where it's raising farmland, whatever, farmer.
Oh, I don't think I remember that one. I was thinking of the guys that did it, Hemi.
Harvey one, and then the whole thing, Paul Harvey sitting there speaking, and they're just playing like farming stuff in the background.
Okay.
I felt like that made it was actually debuted at the Super Bowl.
Okay.
So it was a Super Bowl commercial, but it was.
When? Do you know?
It was recent, wasn't it?
It was the one right before last.
Okay. The last couple of years.
Yeah.
Okay. And why do you think they did that?
I think they did that because they know that farmers and ranchers are sometimes underappreciated for an agriculture.
Sometimes, yeah.
But they're underappreciated, and I think that it was to bring light to what all they do for our nation.
Yeah.
And for our world, so.
Did anybody do McDonald's? McDonald's did this a few years ago. I think it was during the Super Bowl, or at least leading up to it, or part of it, or whatever. But McDonald's is one of the best marketing companies there's ever been, right? And how they do it. And there's a couple ways they do ads. One is about how cheap it is, right? So it's the dollar menu or whatever, right? So it's showing you can get food for less. The other is always like how fun and awesome McDonald's is. Like it's about the Happy Meal, and it's about like going there with friends or whatever. Like it's totally different, okay? It's almost like car commercials too. Sometimes it's about showing how awesome the truck is, and other times it's shown about how cheap it is, right, or the deal or discount or whatever. So McDonald's several years ago did a thing highlighting, because they know how important agriculture is. So do the beer companies, right? Like without wheat and barley, we don't drink Coors Light and Bud Light, right? Coors Light, Bud Light, Natty Light. It's cheaper, right? Keystone? Don't do that. Yeah. You're like, whatever's cheap, right? Okay. No preferences? Who's just like any beer?
I'm not 21, so I'm not.
Oh, okay, yeah, fine. Yeah, not allowed to say. Fair enough. Good answer. Okay. So several years ago, McDonald's did this, and they highlighted the farmer, and so it's about growing their potatoes, right, and the lettuce and the tomatoes that go in your burger and all this stuff. And they got lambasted. People tore them apart, hypercritical of them doing that. It was really weird. Like they did not anticipate this happening, but everybody attacks ag, right, for different reasons, and they were all over McDonald's, and they stopped doing it. It was crazy. All right, what else? It's sharing time. It's so boring if I talk the whole time. What else? Krista, what'd you do?
So the campaign I did wasn't really like a company, it was more so like an organization that was trying to like save bees and stuff.
Say bees? Okay.
And I was just looking into it because they wanted to, this was in Europe, so they wanted to ban pesticides.
Right.
And then I interned at a crop protection company that used pesticides, but theirs was more synthetic.
Okay.
So, I mean, I wasn't sure like what type of pesticide it was until they said synthetic, so it kind of like made a difference for me. But,
Okay. What'd you find out? What'd you learn?
So most of their marketing was kind of like social media,
Mhm.
and like trying to reach out to like the higher power, like the government and stuff up there.
Okay, so trying to influence a pretty specific audience, right? Okay, cool. What else? What'd you learn? Is it newer? Is it more recent?
Yeah, it's pretty recent because I think it was like back in 2019, so it's pretty new and it's like a leading organization in Europe. So
Okay.
they're kind of a big deal over there.
And Europe's pretty strict with their food.
Yeah.
They're pretty strict with
Yeah,
their,
so they want to like ban pesticides completely.
it's tough. Should they?
I just read about it.
It's a hard conversation, right?
Yeah, because I worked for like a company that was just all pesticides. So
Yeah.
I saw, Drew and I understand the purpose of it, but then you have to think about the bees and all that stuff too. So it's like
Yeah,
kind of in the middle.
yeah. And are there organic pesticides? Sure. Yeah. Good. Cool. All right, good one. What else? What'd you do?
Me?
Yeah.
I did the Teach Ag campaign.
The what?
Teach Ag.
Teach ag. Oh, okay, cool. What'd you learn?
I thought they spent a lot more money on campaigning, but it was only like $46 million
Okay.
for like last year.
Okay. For the whole country, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And where were they spending their money?
Mostly on like social media or like the posters, at like conventions and classrooms. and
Okay.
stuff.
Cool. All right. What'd you learn? Anything surprise you? No. Okay. Cool. What else? Everybody has to share. What'd you do?
And Pilgrim's Pride.
Pilgrim's Pride. Okay. What'd you learn?
Boat Pilgrim was the Pilgrim, their logo in the beginning, but they went bankrupt.
Okay.
So now it's just Pilgrims.
Okay.
And,
Did somebody buy them?
yes.
Who bought them? You know.
I just know that they're just Pilgrims now.
Okay.
They're still like one of the largest chicken producers in the world.
Uh-huh.
And, someone else runs all of their campaigns for like, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook.
Okay. Yeah.
It
Keep-
was kind of outdated before.
Uh-huh.
Just him doing TV commercials, videos, whatever.
Yeah.
But now it's like shifted.
Okay. And did you notice anything about their advertising or what they're trying to do? Anything stand out to you?
Their values.
Their values, which is what?
They're trying to make like it more convenient for people to go to the grocery store and buy than
Mm-hmm.
before when they just sold to restaurants.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. So trying to get into a new market, basically. Okay. Yeah. Did anybody do the pork, the other white meat? Anybody come across that? Kinda-
When my mother talked about it, once
Yeah.
I told her about this assignment, she told me about that. I didn't know what that was until she told me.
Yeah, okay, so kind of like got milk that we talked about last week, which was a big deal a while ago. So pork, so that first there was beef, it's what's for dinner. You may remember that? They still do it, I think, all right? Literally, that was like right after the movie City Slickers came out. Did anyone remember that, Billy Crystal? It's an old movie, all right? But basically, this guy, they're city slickers that go on a cattle drive, and he realizes that life's a lot better than living in, a city and being in the office all the time, right? Funny movie. Okay, the second one, not as great. I think they made 3, I don't know. But right after that, okay, Beef literally capitalized and had a campaign. It was just called Beef is What's for Dinner, right? And this is what like checkoff dollars and stuff went to. It was really successful because fat was getting attacked. So people were pushing chicken and white meat, right, instead of red meat. And so pork did basically the same thing, and they kept calling it the other white meat, trying to cut into chicken's business. Okay? These are really simple ad campaigns, but they were super effective. Right? What else? What else we got? What'd you do? Where are you? Yeah.
I did, John Deere.
John Deere also? Okay, what'd you find out?
I did mine just over at 1950s advertisement.
Oh, okay, cool. What'd you learn?
Just that they really did the whole family aspect of it in a lot of their campaigns.
Okay. Targeted families?
Yeah, targeted families, and then just basically it looked like if you bought a John Deere tractor, your family would be happy and successful like this family on the farm.
Was there any diversity in those ads?
Nope.
No, not at all. Now, right, it's like required. You will not see like a white guy in an advertisement, right? It could build like Sam, okay? They show a poster, different ethnicities, right? 1950s, you didn't see that, right? Pretty interesting, right? Cigarettes, you're talking about cigarettes. The Marlboro Man, does anyone even remember the Marlboro Man? It was cool to be the cowboy, right? And sit on the fence post or sit on the horse and have a cigarette. And they killed the Marlboro Man, which was actually advertising against smoking cigarettes, right? And they were like, they did an ad, and it looked just like the Marlboro Man ads. There were 2 cowboys on a fence post, and one of them says to the other one, "I've got lung cancer, Bob," or something like that. And people freaked out. They're like, "Oh my God, they gave the Marlboro Man cancer," and it was really effective. It scared crap out of people, right? A lot of that advertising actually was paid for by cigarette companies. They lost a lawsuit because they were hiding how bad cigarettes were for you, and they had to fund ads against smoking, which, right, pretty crazy that they were forced to do that. What else? Did you go yet? What do you got?
I did a little organization, and it was based off of Northern Ireland.
Okay.
And it's Stop and Think Safe. It's about farm safety.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What'd you learn?
I learned in Northern Ireland the 4 major causes of local farm deaths, and then like the S in safe stands for slurry.
Okay.
A was where is it? So I can find it. I know they did a lot of TV ads and YouTube ads.
Okay.
Even to this day, they still do radio ads and like press ads.
Just for farm safety?
Just for farm safety.
Okay.
I'm really trying to find it.
So if they made a word out of safe, this is something this is gonna blow your mind. You know how people always talk about acronyms? It's only an acronym if it makes a word. So like, if you ever hear somebody talk about that, like if they say ACOM or whatever, that's not an acronym. So you can correct your professors or something if they say it has to make a word like safe. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you find it?
Yeah, it's slurry, animals, falls, and equipment.
Okay. What is slurry?
It was I looked it up, and it said something about it said like a semi-liquid mixture, typically of fine particles of like manure,
Okay.
cement, or coal. I was like,
I was thinking more like pig feet or something like that. Okay, cool. What else? Who else didn't go? What do you got?
I didn't, I don't know, it was like a campaign of gift crafting. There was an egg company out of Canada.
Okay.
And they were just, basically it was similar to the Got Milk campaign, where they were just getting you to eat eggs for like other meals and not just in the morning and stuff.
Okay.
They do a lot of their ads through social media and a little bit of campaigns, but it wasn't, or a little bit of TV, but it wasn't that successful.
When did this happen? Do you know?
It was like 2006 to like 2010 or somewhere around there.
Okay. So eggs also took a big hit with cholesterol. So everyone said eggs are bad for you, right? And then we're like, don't eat eggs. And they took a serious hit. And then they realized, well, it's not entirely true, right? That eggs really aren't that harmful. Like eating cholesterol is not what makes you have high cholesterol. Yeah. If you like, so the kind of joke is like eggs got a bad rap, right? My dad would always say that bacon got a bad rap. Bacon's really good for you. It's not bad. All things in moderation. Okay. Cool. Was it interesting? Did we learn things we didn't know? Okay, good. Worthwhile? Not a terrible assignment? See, I'm pretty awesome. You guys learn things all on by yourself. Okay, let me show you some more stuff today. All right, what we're gonna cover. All right, so this week, what I want you guys to do, and I'll post it, all the details in eCampus, but I want you to basically keep a log of stuff you see and things that like influenced you. Because again, what we want to look at is see if we can make some things relevant for the new School of Ag and attracting students here and all that good stuff. And we need your guys' help. Like we need your influence, right? Because we're all old, right, and lame, and like hopefully none of the professors have TikTok or anything. If they do, that's terrifying, right? But like we need your guys' help figuring this stuff out a little bit, all right? You guys live in a different world, so I want you to keep track, whether it's social media or whatever you're watching during the week, and see what actually influences you, see what catches your eye, see what stands out, right? And we're gonna try to figure out how we can capitalize on those things. I'm gonna email you all these, or post the slides, all right? So you have them all, because we're gonna cover quite a few. I don't really care that you don't have to memorize them, but I want you to learn what they are, because you're gonna see that you do these things. You may not do all of them, but all of us do some of these, all right? All right, so we're gonna talk about biases today, all right? So, here's how your brain works. It's instinctive, okay? You know that fire's hot and that ice is cold, right? And you can spot your mother's face out of a crowd, right? You just know those things, all right? But if I ask Brittany, what's 12 times 12?
44.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, some of you are right on it. Others are like, oh my God, it's Monday morning. Don't ask me math questions in a comm class. Okay, what's today's date? Okay, good. Who's gonna look at their phone? Because I have no idea. Right? Okay. Whether or not you should invest in subprime mortgages. Complicated question, right? Gotta figure that out. Who has no idea what that means? That's fine. Okay, so you'd have to figure it out. Here's the problem. Your brain makes decisions on the instinctive, right? You will not even think about things and you'll do it. And that's not always a good thing, all right? For hard things, you have to use your associative brain, okay? And we don't do that very often because we are very lazy, right? Our brains are just trying to figure it out as quickly as possible, okay? And that's not really a good thing. Okay, so, cognitive bias refers to a systematic error in the thinking process. Such biases are connected to a heuristic, all right? That's just a shortcut. A heuristic means a shortcut. They allow you to make an inference without extensive deliberation or reflective judgment, given they are essentially schemes for such solutions. You're just trying to figure it out, okay? 144, giving up, right? Like yeah, okay? But some of you are trying to figure it out, so it takes a minute, right? We are extremely irrational, right? And if you don't believe me, date somebody. Okay? And usually you'll figure out that it's you. Right? You'd be like, why do you do that? And be like, I've done this my whole life. I'm like, that's weird. Stop doing that. Okay? We make decisions on emotions, not objective data. Okay? We tend to do emotion. Has anybody bought a car on their own yet? Yeah, how'd that go?
Oh, my dad helped me.
Okay, did you do it on your own? Yeah, how'd it go?
It's good, but now I'm like, why did I do this?
Why? Why do you think that? Why are you questioning it?
I'm questioning it because now I'm having to work myself so that I can pay for it.
How much of it was you wanted? Was it a car or truck?
It's a car.
Okay,
I've driven a truck my whole life, so
Okay.
I mean, I just wanted a sports car, so that's what I got.
So you wanted that car, right? You're at the dealership. Did you drive it? Yeah, and you were like,
I drove 5 hours to go and get this car.
okay. And so you were like, I'm getting this car no matter.
I invested.
Did you pay too much?
No.
Okay. All right. Was it still a pain in the ass? Yeah, it is, because the same thing's gonna happen when you buy a house and stuff one day, right? Because you want it so bad, and they know that. They're gonna use that against you. You're gonna go look at your first house and be like, oh my God, I'm gonna buy this house, I'm so excited. And they're gonna try and get more money out of you, all right? Because they're playing on your emotions. This summer, I bought a new truck, right? I hate buying cars, it sucks. And I even use the car buying service through my bank, which is great, but it's still a pain in the ass, okay? And I had a deal on one, they were gonna give me what I wanted, we were doing it all via text and everything, because it's a pandemic and blah, blah, blah. And he was gonna give me what I wanted for my trade-in, everything's cool, and he starts jacking around the price. He added another $1,000 fee. I'm like, what's that? And he goes, well, it's got brand new tires and there's a diesel fee. I'm like, well, tires come with the truck. You can't sell a truck without tires. And there's no diesel fee unless it's like huge, right? So they were jacking me around. And my wife's like, it's the truck you want. It's only another $1,000, just pay it. I was like, no, screw these guys. And I walked away and I got a better truck. Just because I was with, 25-year-old me would have been like, okay, I'll just do it, right? But I was like, no, it's just a truck. I still love it, but it's just a truck. I'll find another, okay? Totally worked out better. So if you can think about that, it will help you out, right? Trying to make a objective decision, right? Not based on emotion. Questions on that? Okay. Anchoring class. Who wants to make 100 grand right out of school? Yeah, well, hopefully all of you, right? Your ag teacher?
We're not going to, no.
You're screwed, right? Not till you retire, then you guys will be rich, okay? When you go to negotiate for your jobs, you're in your first salaries, all right? You want 100 grand and they offer you 50, right, for your starting salary. Are you gonna negotiate it up to 100? No, all right? Because we're stuck, right? We're stuck at that. Now you might get it up to 55, maybe 60, all right? But we're stuck at that first number, right? That's why the first offer that comes to the table, that's the range you're dealing with, right? You're not gonna get from 50 to 100, right? It's hard to do. There were some judges that had to assign, and judges are actually pretty good at being reasonable, right? They're supposed to be objective. The legal system in this country is actually pretty good when it comes to judges making objective decisions, all right? Juries are a little different. But judges are pretty good. So they did a study and they said, we want to see what influences them. So they were given a bunch of cases. The people were already convicted. All they had to do was assign the sentence. Okay, so here's what they did. Assign an appropriate sentence based on what they did. Right before that, they gave them like a 12-sided dice, right? So 1 through 12 on the dice, and it was loaded. So the dice would usually come up with a higher number, 10, 11, 12, right? Almost every time they rolled it. They read the case, they roll the dice, then they assign the sentence. What happened? What happened with the sentences? Any guesses? They were what? Why were they wrong though? They were higher than they should have been. They were signing higher sentences than they should have assigned, simply because they rolled the stupid dice that had no bearing on it, right? That's what influenced them, was just seeing the higher number. It's crazy, right? That's how our brains work. Automation bias. Okay, we often come up with systems, right, that'll help us to work better. There was a flight a couple years ago, and the pilots put the plane on autopilot. I think they were going to Minneapolis, and they flew past it by about an hour and a half, 2 hours. They were just up there bullshitting, right? This is not a good situation. You're talking about fuel, the time, people have connections to make, right? They got fired over it. This was bad, because they had to fly all the way back. Okay, they made it, but that was bad news. They were simply relying on autopilot, because it usually warns you when you get close, you have to take it off autopilot to land. Right? There was a company that came up with a system to trade stock for them to manage their investments. It spent, I think it was $500 million within the first couple hours and almost bankrupt the company. Any baseball fans in here? Maybe? Okay. Baseball works on scouting, right? You're scouting a young player, maybe there's a Bearcat that's pretty good, scout comes and looks at him. If you just decide you like him or not, they'll rely on that versus looking at the numbers. So if anybody's seen the movie Moneyball, that's based on the numbers of looking at it, which is trying to remove that. Okay, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Right? So you have to be careful with letting things decide for you. Availability heuristic. We give more credence to information we're already aware of, even if it's subconscious. So if you hear something and you're already somewhat aware of it, you're more likely to believe it. Okay? This is especially true if the information is dramatic or emotionally charged. This is exactly what's happening in the media. They know that if you get fired up or pissed off or irritated, you're more likely to click or tune in. So they feed on it, which is crazy. Right? They're more likely to show the terrible things that happen, dramatic things or emotional things, okay? Which is pretty dangerous we're being honest. Last year was pretty shitty, right? Pandemic, political year. It's a lot of terrible things. They feed on it, right? Bandwagon effect. I mean, you've been hanging out with friends and somebody says something and you're like, no way, you don't believe them at all. Happens all the time, right? Okay? You don't believe it if you don't think it's true. But if the group of people you're with think it's true, then you're more likely to believe it, right? Same thing happens the opposite way. You think it's not true if others already think it's false, right? So we tend to kind of go with the group. We're in the bandwagon, jump on board. Right? Anybody do these things? Yes? No? Everyone's perfect? Everyone's Switzerland and doesn't want to say anything? All right, group thing. Has anybody heard of this before? This happens in businesses. You guys are going to go work somewhere, and you're going to be the young new person at the company, and you're going to be too scared to say anything, right? Some of you are like, hell no, I'm going to speak up. Okay, good, I hope you do. Groupthink is when a group of people are working on a decision, right? And everyone is basically too afraid to rock the boat. Everyone's like, yeah, Brittany comes up with an idea, and you're on board, and you're on board, and you're on board. We're like, yeah, let's do it, okay? Nobody thinks, what if Brittany's made a really terrible suggestion or idea, okay? But it's really hard for companies to question their own decisions, right? And it leads to irrational decisions. It's really dangerous. You're gonna go work for a company and they're gonna be doing something, you're like, this is not a good idea. Speak up. I had a friend of mine that was interning for, it's like TxDOT, right? They were building roads. And they were building new roads, spending millions of dollars to make it safer, and he did the math. He's an engineer, but he's like a junior in college. He does the math and he's like, hey, you guys are building this road wrong. He's like the slope and whatever stuff. He's like, this is not right. They're already going. Construction's already happening. He's out at the job site. He's like, you're building this road wrong. And he tells his boss, he's like, no, we're not. You don't know anything. You're just a junior in college. You're an intern. Just keep your mouth shut. But he knew he was right because the math didn't lie. And he goes to his boss's boss. And he shows him, he's like, you're building this wrong. And he's like, holy shit, you are 100% correct. Which led to a problem with the other boss, right? It's like, why are you not believing this guy? But he was willing to speak up. Nobody had said anything. Nobody questioned it. Right? So be aware of that. Same thing, like, some of y'all did some shit in high school where you're like, we could have died. Anybody do anything really stupid? Yeah, you were just going along with it, and later you're like, what the hell were we thinking? That's groupthink. Better example? Now you remember? Now you think about how you're lucky to be alive. We tend to ignore general information and instead focus on the data that's specific but less meaningful. Who's bought stuff on Amazon? You look at the reviews? Have any of you not bought something because there's one bad review?
Yes.
3,500 people gave it 5 stars, and there was one person who was mad. And you're like, oh, I'm not gonna buy it. Okay, you just ignored what 3,500 people said because the one bad review backed you up. You were like, oh yeah, I agree, so I'm not gonna do it, all right? Chrysler was making cars, and they made this piece of shit car. And they used to have this factor where it showed like the number of repairs you had to have, and they focused on reducing that number. So all they would do when they built the car the next year was fix what was wrong the previous year, okay? They were still building a shitty car. It just broke slightly less often. Okay? They were looking at the wrong thing, okay, and how to fix it. Clustering illusion. You ever been looking at clouds and you're like, oh, that's an alligator, whatever. Seen the Virgin Mary in a piece of toast? That happened a few years ago, right? We look for patterns that aren't there. You ever see something and you think you see something in it? Yeah. That happens all the time. We look for patterns that aren't really there. Anybody who wants to be an entrepreneur, this can be a threat because you think you'll have it figured out and you'll start a new business and it doesn't always go well. So just be aware of it. Confirmation bias. Again, kind of similar to the other one. The unconscious act of referring to only those perspectives that fuel our pre-existing views, while at the same time ignoring or dismissing other opinions, no matter how valid. You ever been in an argument with somebody and they make a really good point? What do? You ever stop and go, that's a good point, I agree with you, I've changed my mind. No, what do? You just get mad, right? You say stupid shit? Yeah, again, if you're in a relationship, be real careful. Okay, that's when you get mad. If you actually get mad, like if you're in a heated argument, your brain gets real dumb, like reptile level. Okay, because you just get defensive and mad. You don't think through it. If somebody has some good data, we will throw it away. We're like, nah, not true. I don't believe you. Okay, which is really stupid. Same thing. This happens with political views and opinions, right? Right? Are you really going to change someone's mind?
No.
Hard to
Only
do.
if they want to.
Hard to do. Okay. Yeah. Then you walk away and you're like, oh, I should have said this, right? Instead of actually thinking, oh, maybe they made a good point. Okay. No one ever does that. No one ever does that. Okay. But in business, this is why new companies can succeed. All right. This is why new companies can actually come along and knock off the big, powerful company, because they're challenging it, right? And they're thinking about things differently. You'll go to work for companies and you'll look at something and you'll be like, why are we doing this way? And they'll be like, the answer will be because we've always done it this way. Did your parents ever tell you that? Why are we doing it? Because we always have. That's not a good answer. Wait till you have kids, you'll say it too. But it's not a good answer. All right? So don't be afraid to speak up. Anything else to know? Does anybody know how long a Fortune 500 company, like Fortune 100 company, a top Coca-Cola, Ford, Budweiser, pick one. You know how about the average lifespan of being in the Fortune 100? You may have guesses. It's like 30 years, which is a lot, but companies will get knocked off, right? It happens all the time. Okay. Curse of knowledge. Once you truly understand that piece of information, it seems obvious. You ever been studying with somebody, and you're like, how do you not understand this? Like, I got it. Or you're on the opposite end. You're like, I don't get it. Okay? That's because once you actually figure it out, you think everybody knows it, right? And it's really hard to understand that they don't know it. Who likes their TV? Plasma and LCD came out about the same time, right? Which one's better? Plasma. Yeah, it is. Are there as many plasma TVs as LCDs? There's far more LCDs. Why? Do you know why?
Cheaper to make, right?
Huh?
Cheaper to make, right?
No, the cost was not that different. Plasma was maybe slightly more at the beginning, but they're about the same.
LCD looks more like fancy, I guess you could say. Like if I'm going out to buy a TV, LCD looks like it'd be a better TV than plasma does.
In the store. Why? If you go into a Walmart or a Best Buy, is it bright? All the lights are on? Yeah, how do you watch movies and TV? You turn all the lights on? No, you turn them off in a little light. The plasma TVs were far better in lower light. They were a better TV, they looked better. So the engineers made a better TV. The LCDs knew that in a bright store, the LCDs looked better, which is crazy, and LCD won out, right? There's more LCDs. Plasma's kind of coming back, right? So marketing actually screwed it up. Marketing should have said, hey, put our plasmas in lower light, right? Or whatever. Hindsight bias. This is similar to the curse of knowledge. Once we have information, it seems obvious it was going to happen all along. You ever had something happen after the fact? You're like, oh, I totally should have seen that coming. No, you didn't know, but you think you should have known, right? Okay, a few more. Anybody play baseball or softball growing up? Okay, catcher. What does a catcher do with a pitch, though? But tries to frame it, right?
Yeah,
If it's a
frame it.
ball,
Yeah.
you try to make it look like a strike. That's the framing effect, right? We tend to draw different conclusions from the same information. Anybody watch a debate, and you're like, oh yeah, this guy my guy nailed it, right? And your friend's like, no, the other guy nailed it. That's because we heard what we wanted to hear, right? It's the same information, right? But it's how we look at it. Advertisers 100% use this, okay? They're trying to make things look good, right? They're trying to make smoking cool, still, right? If you give, there's another way to think about it. This is what will happen in the real world. Somebody tell you, hey, go look at this company. We're thinking about buying it. We're thinking about merging or whatever, okay? We're thinking about getting a new software program to help teach, whatever it is, okay? And you're the new person, and they're going to tell you, hey, go research this deal and figure out if we should do it or not. If you present the positives, you're more likely to do it. if you present mostly the good things about it, the company or organization is more likely to do it. If you heavily favor the risks or the bad things about it, you won't do it. The company won't do it. It's how you present it, right? That's framing effect. Xerox is a copy company. They make copiers. They made almost everything for modern computers. They could have been Apple, right? But they consider themselves a copying company. So they stuck in that lane when they could have made way more money making computers, right? So it's all in how you look at it. Is any other degenerate gamblers like myself? Anybody bet on it? Okay, cool. All right, guys like this, right? You think future probabilities are altered by past events. Does anyone watch College Game Day, college football? Okay, and they'll say Sam Houston has beat SFA 6 out of the last 7 games, right? Does that have any impact on the next game? No, it doesn't matter. Those were all separate events that happened in the past, okay? What happens when you flip a coin? It's heads or tails, right? You ever flipped a coin and been shocked? Oh my God, heads? Holy shit. No way, didn't see that coming. It's like when people announce the gender of their baby, right? Boy or girl, and they're all shocked. Well, it was one or the other, right? Okay, if you have a lizard, then I'll be surprised. Then you should have a party, okay? Because I want to come and see the baby lizard, all right? It's actually, if a human does it, will influence it, it's actually about 51% to 49% of flipping a coin. I think we come up heads 51%. Because depending on who like if you flip a coin and you call it and I like you, I might see how it hits and flip it over or whatever. If I don't like you, then I won't. Okay? That's literally how we treat things. If a robot flips a coin, it's literally 50-50. Right? Does anybody play roulette? Played it? Does everybody know what roulette is? Okay, see it in movies and all that stuff, right? Okay. Spin the ball, it lands on black or red or sometimes the green, and everybody loses. No joke, at a casino, is the ball landed on the same, it was like red 16 or whatever it was. It landed on there 2 times, right? And then 3 times in a row, and it kept happening, right? How was everybody betting? Were they betting the same number or a different number?
No?
The different number, why?
Because it's unlikely for it to hit twice.
Yeah, there's no way it's gonna happen again. And it happened, I don't even remember what it was, but it happened like 8 or 9 times in a row. Incredibly unlikely to happen. But everybody kept saying there's no way. Where if you'd have just bet on there and left it, you would have won a ton of money. Okay? So some journalists said they were looking at, we're almost done. They were looking at financial investing. Okay, does anybody trade at all? Has anybody gotten into it?
What, like stock market?
Yeah.
My grandma has stocks for me.
Okay, cool. Start looking at it now. There's this crazy shit. If anybody's seen what's happening at GameStop,
Yes,
Reddit.
oh my gosh.
Okay, watch what is happening, just to learn for yourself. Okay, even if you don't, it doesn't take a lot of money to invest, right? You don't have to have $1,000, $10,000. You can literally invest $100, right, and make some money with it. Okay? Or you can lose it all. But pick a stock and just watch it. You can do it right on your phone. Just pick Apple or whoever. Find a new cheap one, something you like. John Deere, all right? Pick one and just watch it. They don't always go up, right? It's been a rough year. A lot of people lost a lot of money. Pick one and watch it just to learn, just to educate yourself a little bit. But some business journalists said, I bet blindfolded monkeys could do just as well as the experts at investing. Because they were watching it and they were like, they're not any better than anybody else, right? So they did a study. Now, you can't actually use blindfolded monkeys without going through a whole lot of paperwork. So they did it themselves. They blindfolded themselves, they took darts, and they threw it at the newspaper with all the stocks, okay? And they simulated investing in those stocks. Okay, I'm gonna put $10,000 in this, put $20,000 in this, and compared themselves to the experts. How did they do?
Just as well.
About the same. It was literally about the same as the experts. Right? Day traders, like, you know, if we do it or whatever, we tend to average less than the professionals by about 6%. But the stuff that's happening right now is crazy, because a lot of people made a lot of money, right? So it's all changing. All right. Loss aversion. We would rather avoid a loss than reap a reward. Okay, we're given a choice. All right. Polaroid. Does anybody know what Polaroid is anymore? What's Polaroid? What they make? Cameras. What they primarily make? before that? What does nobody use anymore in cameras? Film, right? You guys ever even seen a film canister? That's good for you guys. Okay. So everybody used to keep their drugs. Polaroid was digital cameras were coming along. Everybody's going digital, right? But they would not stop making film because most of their revenue came from film. All right. They could have dumped all that, fully invested in digital cameras, and been way more successful. But they were scared to lose. Like 65% of their revenue came from film. Even though they could see it was going away, they were afraid to drop it. This is also why Blockbuster died. Okay. They could have bought Netflix for $10 million. They came back, Netflix came back, because Netflix knew eventually they would go digital, but when they started, like the bandwidth wasn't as good, your Wi-Fi wasn't as good, it wasn't as common for people to be able to watch, you couldn't watch them on your TV, right? It was a little newer, right? And they knew the technology wasn't there, which is why they mailed them. Did anybody know that they mailed it? Some people had no idea that Netflix used to do that, okay? So they said, we'll partner with Blockbuster because we need the stores, but eventually we'll take you online. We'll take Blockbuster with us, we'll merge, and we'll go digital, all right? And they said no. And they came back like 2 years later and they said, okay, you can buy us for $50 million. Blockbuster said no. Do you know why? What did Blockbuster make most of their money on?
DVDs.
Huh?
DVDs.
DVDs, but what?
Tapes.
Tapes, but why? It wasn't the rental fee, it was the late fee. If you forgot to return that shit on time, they charged you, and it was like by the day. Most of their revenue came from the late fee, and they said, we don't want to lose that part of our business. Where's Blockbuster today? They're dead. Okay. There was one that was still open, actually up in Oregon. I think it may have closed.
I don't know if it closed or not, but I saw that. I thought it was pretty fucking funny.
Yeah, and like some movie like went and filmed there because it was like the last Blockbuster, so they were making a movie in like the 80s or 90s, and they needed a Blockbuster store. Okay. So lost aversion. All right, we're almost done. We probably won't get through all these. We recall unpleasant memories more vividly. How many of you lay in bed at like 3 in the morning and you're like, oh, I said a really stupid thing. I did something stupid. You'll fixate on the bad stuff, right? Not the good things that happen, right? And sometimes we give them more credence than they deserve. Now, that's not always a bad thing because it can protect you from making mistakes, but it can lead to undervaluing a positive experience, all right? We tend to have a bias towards that. Normalcy bias. The Titanic that sank bottom of the ocean. Why did they not put enough lifeboats on there? Unsinkable. No way that boat sinks, right? Where is it now? Son of a gun's at the bottom of the ocean, isn't it? Right? That's bad news. All right, read this top one.
Optimism.
The first bullet.
Oh.
Is that true?
Yes.
Does everybody think they're above average driver? Is everybody a good driver?
No.
No, people are terrible drivers, right? Okay, no, there's no way statistically that 93% of people can be above average drivers, all right? But we think we are. Same thing with entrepreneurs. We all think we're going to make it, and the average new business only makes it 5 years. Same thing. If you're in a good mood, you think good things will happen. If you're in a bad mood, you think bad things will happen. Either way, you are making decisions based on emotions, not good rational decisions. Okay, I'm going to go over. There's a couple more we can touch on next week. So we've learned a bunch about ourselves, right, hopefully, and I'll post these for you guys to kind of review. I want you to pay attention to the things you see this week and make note of it, okay? What caught your eye? What was good? What seemed stupid? What were you like, oh my God, I can't believe I believed that, right? Anything like that, okay? And I'll post the details. But I want you to think about those things for how you look at the world and try to notice that your own biases. Sound good? Okay, cool. You guys have a wonderful week.